Thought reflection 0424-26. Why you can't relax. There has always been something in the background for me, a kind of pressure, a sense that I need to be doing something, moving towards something, using my time correctly. And with that, there has always been a kind of restlessness, a sense of urgency that never really went away. I have never been able to fully relax. Even when I tried to relax, there was always something in the background pushing me. I noticed it, but I never really stopped to look at it. I never questioned what it was or where it was coming from. Looking back now, it was always anxiety. I just did not recognize it. I did not see how it was shaping how I felt or how I made decisions. I did not realize that I was the one creating that pressure. It was not something real. It was something I perceived, something I carried, and it never needed to be there. Because of that, I was constantly judging myself, judging my situations, measuring everything against something I never fully understood. And when you are doing that, you are not seeing clearly. You are seeing everything through that pressure, distortion. What I'm starting to notice now is how much of my experience comes from small background processes, micro beliefs, micro anxieties, small reactions that happen before I even realize they are happening. They shape everything, how I think, how I feel, how I move through the world, and I never really saw them. Now I am starting to see them. I am not trying to force anything. I am just intentionally observing, intentionally noticing, sitting with what is there and letting it show itself. And as I do that, something begins to open up. I start to see that a lot of what I thought was solid is not actually solid. It is ideas, it is beliefs that I took on and treated as absolute, but when I step back and look at them from a different angle, they begin to shift. It is like zooming out and seeing patterns instead of fixed points. And as those patterns become visible, the way I move through the world begins to change. And when that begins to happen, it starts to challenge the belief behind what I thought was real. And with that, there comes a question: who am I to challenge what we think is real? There is a certain amount of arrogance in that thought, but at the same time, it feels legitimate. Because nothing changes without being questioned. Every shift, every movement, starts with someone being willing to look at things differently. It is not just internal. We are influenced by everything around us, groups of people, shared ideas, the way we are taught to see the world, and that creates pressure too. It shapes how we think without us realizing it. We are told that reality is a certain way, that things are absolute, and we accept that. But when these micro-anxieties start to loosen, something else happens. There is space, and in that space other ideas can come in, things I never would have considered before, things I was told were not possible. It is like my mind clears, and with that clarity, new ways of seeing begin to show up. The world itself starts to feel different, not because it changed, but because the way I am perceiving it has changed. It feels like a lot of people are still operating inside that same structure, like they are in a kind of trance, a kind of amnesia, moving through patterns without seeing them. And then there are moments where people start to question it, start to see it, start to step outside of it. And that is what this feels like for me. It feels like remembering, not learning something new, but remembering something that was always there underneath all of it. A big part of that is learning to be with myself. There is a kind of grace in being solitary, something I resisted most of my life. Sitting alone with yourself is not easy. It brings everything up, but it is necessary, because you have to be able to live with yourself. You have to be able to sit with yourself completely. You have to absolutely love yourself, not just the parts you like, but everything, the parts you would rather ignore, the parts you would rather hide. They are still you. Rejecting them does not remove them. You have to see them, recognize them, bring them into the light. You do not have to act on everything you see, but you do have to be willing to see it. And when you can do that, something shifts, something opens. Things that felt heavy begin to loosen, patterns begin to release, old reactions start to fall away, and with that there is more clarity, more space, more awareness. I have heard people talk about this before, ideas like the dark night of the soul, but it is different when you actually experience it for yourself, when you really see it and feel it and apply it to your own life. That is when it becomes real. That is when things begin to change, and it takes willingness. You have to want to see yourself honestly. Most people do not want to do that. And I think this is where I had it wrong. I was waiting for some next level of awareness to arrive, like something was going to come in from the outside and change everything. But nothing happens the way you think it will. It does not arrive the way you imagine. It comes in quietly, often in ways you do not even notice at first, and then suddenly you see it. It is already there, and you realize it has been there all along. What I am doing right now is the process, working through these patterns, seeing them, sitting with them, letting them unfold. That is how awareness becomes real. That is how it becomes something you live from. That is how it becomes your new way of operating. So this is where I am at, not intentionally trying to force anything, just intentionally observing, intentionally noticing, letting the process unfold and realizing that the threshold was never about something to reach for. It was always about something to remember. Haggis, my esoteric journey,